What if I told you that the most bombed country in the world right now, hit by the US, Israel, and Saudi Arabia, hasn't been conquered by anyone? That's not an accident, that's strategy. Yemen has held off much bigger powers for centuries, and today, in 2026, with the Middle East more unstable than ever, the question analysts are quietly asking is, what if someone actually tried to invade and occupy Yemen for real? What would happen? To understand why invading Yemen is one of the most dangerous ideas any military power could have, you first need to understand what Yemen actually is. It's not just a country in the middle of a civil war, it's a territory that has never been fully controlled by any central government in modern history, a place where the state was always more of a useful fiction. It existed on paper and in diplomatic speeches. But on the ground, Yemen was always run by tribes and mountains, 33 million people spread across a territory the size of Texas. Most of it is mountains, desert, and narrow valleys. Terrain that swallows armies whole and spits the wreckage back out. The British tried to hold the South for decades. They left in humiliation in 1967. The Soviets built an allied state in the South. It collapsed in 1990. The Saudis went to war in 2015 with the biggest military budget in the Middle East and the certainty they'd wrap it up in months. 10 years later, the Houthis still control the capital Sana'a. Invading Yemen isn't like invading a normal country. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. Yemen in 2026 is essentially split into pieces. The north and center, including Sana'a, are under Houthi control. They're Iran-backed, armed with Iranian missile and drone technology, and have been fighting in these mountains for decades. The south is held by the internationally recognized government, weak and fragmented, competing for influence with separatist movements. And in between, there are dozens of tribal factions and local militias that don't consistently answer to anyone. That's the board. Now let's talk about what would actually happen. The US already bombed Yemen heavily with Operation Rough Rider in March 2025. It lasted 2 months, degraded some Houthi capabilities, but didn't finish them off. It ended with an Oman-brokered ceasefire in May. But what if they went further? What if they put boots on the ground? Air superiority, they'd have it in days. The problem starts the moment those boots hit the dirt. The Sada Mountains in the northwest reach over 11,800 feet. Roads are scarce. Every mountain turn is a potential ambush. The Houthis don't fight like a conventional army. They melt into the mountains, the villages, the tribal families who shelter them. The same guerrilla playbook that wore the Saudis down for a full decade. And the moment foreign troops set foot on Yemeni soil, the tribes that normally fight each other unite against the outsider. It's the one thing that brings Yemen together. Saudi Arabia already tried in 2015, 10 years of war, billions spent, and the Houthis are still there. In March 2026, they fired ballistic missiles at Israel, showing they can fight on multiple fronts at the same time. You don't solve that kind of adversary with more airstrikes. Israel destroyed Sanaa's airport, bombed the port of Hodeidah, the main supply entry point for the civilian population in the north, and killed over 13 senior Houthi military commanders between 2025 and 2026. And the Houthis kept launching missiles. You take out the airport, they use dirt roads. You take out the port. They find other routes. You kill the leaders, new ones step up. You can't occupy what you can't hold. Yemen has over 21 million people depending on humanitarian aid just to survive. Any large-scale ground invasion of a country in that condition doesn't just produce military casualties, it produces a humanitarian collapse on a scale the world couldn't ignore. The political pressure on any invading power would be massive and fast. And then there's the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the choke point between the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean, where roughly 10% of global maritime trade passes through. The Houthis have already shown they can shut that route down for ships they consider enemies. In an occupation scenario, they'd do it again. The economic fallout would be global and immediate. When you put it all together, the picture is clear. The terrain swallows armies. The political fragmentation makes any stable occupation impossible. The population unites against outsiders regardless of internal divisions. The humanitarian cost is politically unbearable, and control of the strait gives the Houthis a global economic lever that no invader can afford to ignore. Nobody invades Yemen for real, not because they can't, but because the cost in lives, money, and global instability is simply too high. If this video changed how you see it, drop a like. That's what keeps this channel growing every week.